welcome, Joaquin.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. As you can see, we got a big house here. Everyone is eager to know all these things about the CEO of Johnson & Johnson. So I'm going to start with the question that everybody wants to know. Best player, Maradona, Messi, Ronaldo, or Itana Bonmati?
I like Messi a lot, so I think it's the art versus the power. But I have to mention Aitana Bonmati because she's a Spaniard and a female player, and Spain is the current World Cup soccer winner in female, so that's a great player too.
Best female player in the world and the best female team in the U.S. is Gotham NCNJ, however they're calling it, right here in New Jersey. Joaquin's a big soccer guy. We're going to do plenty on that. But you guys came here to hear about Johnson & Johnson, so we're going to get to that a little bit. We bring up soccer because soccer is such a global game, and Johnson & Johnson is such a global company. That's why we're so excited to have Joaquin here. Let's start with yourself personally. Tell us a little bit about your story and how you came here and what's going on.
Yes, so as you can tell by my accent, I am not from over here, although I have lived more than 20 years in New Jersey. And my kids, when you ask my kids where you're from, they say proudly, we are from New Jersey.
Round of applause.
Round of applause. So I'm also proud to be the first non-US born CEO of Johnson & Johnson in its 38 years of history. Which reflects how open and diverse New Jersey is as a state. Today we were at the New Jersey Council of CEOs with the governor, and several of the CEOs there were not born in the US. It reflects how welcoming for talent New Jersey is. So I was born in Spain, in a town called Valencia, which is by the Mediterranean. I was born in a large family. I had 16 uncles and aunts, 40 cousins. So from very early on, I knew that as I was in the middle in the family, that I was not the most important person in the room. And that's something that I got through when I became CEO. From very early on, I was in contact with healthcare. My mom is a nurse. My grandmother was a pharmacist. My grandfather was a pediatrician. And we live in a town, and my grandma, I would go to my grandmother's family pharmacy after school. And they would drop me there to wait until they would close the pharmacy. And I would see my grandmother servicing the patients that were coming here for the scripts and talking to them endlessly. And I would say, Grandma, why don't we close the pharmacy and go home? And she would tell, Joaquin, the important thing is not the medicine, the important thing is the person. And that's something that I carry over with me, and I have always followed through. I came to the US in '84 to go to graduate school, and then I interviewed with different companies when I was here in the US, and I started my career in the pharma industry since. I've been at Johnson & Johnson for 35 years.
Wow. So the one thing I like about that story, and any good leader will tell you, is a good leader is not someone who starts at the top. It's someone who climbs their ladder up to the top, and often that ladder is sort of a zigzag. Joaquin, you're going to be stunned to learn, has had 12 different positions at J&J. He knows this company inside and out, and more just than knowledge, it's just working every aspect to the top. Talk about those experiences and how that prepared you for the top role.
Thank you. So, an anecdote, when I was here in the US interviewing with different companies, I interviewed for Johnson & Johnson when I was on campus, and I didn't make it to the second interview. So it was not my first company. So interviewing is not an exact science. So I work in many different jobs in Johnson & Johnson. I love working in Johnson & Johnson, as you can tell. I think that it's a company from the very beginning when I joined, in which I felt I could be myself. I felt at ease with the values of the company. It's clearly a values-driven company. Our credo that guides our behaviors was written 80 years ago, and it clearly states that we put the patient first, then the employees, then the communities, and if we do a good job for the employees, the communities, and the patients, then we're going to do a good job for our investors. So I always feel identified with those values of the company. Our leadership style in the company, we call it servant leadership. I think we are a humble company and we want to come across that way. We want to be a good partner. And it's a company that has a lot of job opportunities for people. I mean, if you talk to some of our colleagues here, many of them have been in the company 10, 20, 30 years. To give you an example, tomorrow I'm going to visit one in our facilities here in Franklin, New Jersey, and I'm going to celebrate 6 employees that have 50-year seniority at Johnson & Johnson.
Wow.
So I think it's a very special company from that regard, a company in which you not only have a job, but you can have a career. So because of those reasons, I think it's been wonderful, and Johnson & Johnson has given me these opportunities to grow. I have worked in sales, in marketing, supply chain, technology. I have worked in Europe, in the US, in Asia Pacific. So if it were not for Johnson & Johnson and all the opportunities that the company gave me, I wouldn't be here today as CEO.
Now, one thing a lot of people know about Johnson & Johnson, it is an iconic New Jersey company, I think equaled only by Prudential and Campbell, just sort of the names that you hear all over the place. And the one thing about Johnson & Johnson is its commitment to New Brunswick. Johnson & Johnson has been in New Brunswick, it's been committed to New Brunswick, it's been committed to New Jersey. Talk about that commitment to the city and the state that the company makes. Some things publicly, some things privately, that I don't think people truly appreciate how much you guys do to help the state and the city.
We are very rooted in New Jersey and in New Brunswick. New Brunswick was the first site of Johnson & Johnson when we started, and we have never moved from New Brunswick. We have never moved from the site where Johnson & Johnson started. So there's a deep commitment of Johnson & Johnson to the state. Coming from abroad, I think that Johnson & Johnson is what I thought the American dream was. I mean, it's a company that was started by 3 brothers that were from New Jersey, and that became a global company over time with the hard work of many people working in those communities, and is now the largest healthcare company in the world. So it's a really beautiful story of a company that started as a family-run company. It became a public company 80 years ago and has developed in what it is today, and is very committed to the communities that we work. It's in our credo. I mean, it says in our credo we have to be committed to the communities that we work, and sometimes I feel that New Jersey doesn't know Johnson & Johnson as much as we should. And as we want to play for the home team, and for the New Jersey team, I think it's important for us to be more present in New Jersey and be more connected with the New Jersey society. So it's important for us, and I want to make sure that we are a driving force in the New Jersey society, continue to be able to invest in the state. To give you some numbers of the impact of Johnson & Johnson in the state of New Jersey. We spent with New Jersey companies last year $3 billion. We spent with New Jersey minority-owned companies $700 million last year. That's very impressive. That's very impressive. We work with more than 3,000 New Jersey-based companies. So our impact in the economy of the state is very, very wide. We have about 15,000 employees, thousands of retirees working here. And we calculate that our impact in the economy of New Jersey is about $10 billion annually. So we want to make sure that the people in New Jersey knows about Johnson & Johnson, and the fact that they know that we play for the home team, and they also play for Johnson & Johnson too.
Awesome. Look, everyone in this room is a business leader, a political leader, and eventually everyone's going to retire, and there's going to be a beautiful story written, of course, by ROI, talking about their career. So when I retire, it's going to be the guy who was invited to do a fireside chat once and only once. With Joaquin, when you retire, it's going to be, he was in charge of Johnson & Johnson, a global company, when they decided to split the company in half, which is an unbelievable business move We can talk about this all day. Give us a little idea of what went into that decision, how you're trying to do it, and the craziness around it.
Yeah. So for many years, Johnson & Johnson has had 3 areas of activity. One is our consumer health products, which are the ones that all of you, I'm sure, know, like baby shampoo, the Band-Aids, Tylenol, Neutrogena, Aveeno, Zyrtec. So that was one area of activity. The second one, it's our medical technology business. I think people do not know that we are the largest orthopedic company in the world. If you have an implant, a joint, a hip, a shoulder, a wrist, most likely it's a Johnson & Johnson product. So we have the largest medical technology business in the world. We have orthopedics, surgery, sutures, for example. Most of the sutures that are used in the US are Johnson & Johnson sutures. And some of them were developed here in New Jersey. Some of the biggest innovations in sutures were developed here in New Jersey. We do contact lenses, intraocular lenses. Most likely some of you in the audience is wearing AccuView contact lenses. Those are Johnson & Johnson contact lenses. And also in medical technology, we do products for cardiovascular disease, atrial fibrillation, stroke. So that's our second area of activity, medical technology. And finally is pharmaceuticals. We are the largest or second largest pharmaceutical company in the world. So over time, on one hand, the relative importance of the consumer health business was lower for Johnson & Johnson. It was about 15% of our sales. And also, the dynamics of the consumer market were becoming very different from regulated healthcare dynamics in medical technology and pharmaceuticals. So a couple of years ago, together with our board of directors, we decided that it was better for everybody, our employees, the patients, the consumers we serve, to create 2 companies. One that was going to be focused in healthcare, around medical technology and pharmaceuticals, that retains the name of Johnson & Johnson, and another one that hosted all our consumer products, which is called Kenvue, that has become now a public company. By the way, also based in New Jersey, in Summit, New Jersey. So now we have 2 companies. Kenvue is a standalone company that has all these products that you associate with Johnson & Johnson, and then the new Johnson & Johnson is squarely focused in healthcare products, squarely focused on trying to tackle these difficult to treat diseases like cancer, dementia, cardiovascular disease, that are still a big problem for society, causing suffering and also a significant economic cost. So that was the rationale, to be able to be more focused, more specialized, more agile, and to be able to address the needs of consumers on one side and patients and healthcare professionals on the other.
Was there any pushback from executives or employees saying, why are we doing this? And
I mean, many of the people at Johnson & Johnson has had the privilege to work in all 3 areas. That's why people stay so long at Johnson & Johnson, because you can develop a career at Johnson & Johnson. So emotionally, it was a shock when we announced it. Rationally, everybody got that the businesses have become very different. I can tell you that today, if you go to Kenvue, they are happy to be an independent company because they have a fit-for-purpose organization, they have a fit-for-purpose talent, much more focused on the consumer business. And if you go to Johnson & Johnson, I think now it's a more agile, more focused company with faster growth rates because we are more dedicated singularly to human health. So I think that emotionally at the beginning is tough. You have to do change management. But ultimately, people realize that we are better off being more focused and more specialized. So now we are 2 companies, Kenvue and Johnson & Johnson. Now, that creates a challenge for me. Because every time I tell people I work for Johnson & Johnson, they don't think about our medical products and our pharmaceutical products. They still tell me, yeah, I know Johnson & Johnson, the baby shampoo. So it's gonna take some time until we are known as who we are, which are a healthcare company, the largest medical technology and pharmaceutical company in the world.
Now, the guy who's going to follow us was the happiest guy in the world when Kenvue announced that they were going to go to Summit. Was that a no-brainer? Was that an easy decision? Was that an expected decision? What's the choice to stay in New Jersey and why?
We are very much rooted in New Jersey. I think we believe that New Jersey, and I say that having come from abroad, taking, if you want, an objective view, although, you know, I told you I lived for a long time here. But I think New Jersey has a great geographic location. It's in a great spot. I think it's a very diverse and open state, and I can tell you with my own experience, a really open state. I think that, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about the taxes later, but generally speaking,
Nobody here cares about taxes. We're all good. Whatever you need, just let us know.
I'm sure we'll talk about the taxes later, but generally speaking, it has a reasonable environment for business and for innovation. Otherwise, you wouldn't have so many important companies here. And also, I think it's a great source of talent. I mean, our number one university in people coming into Johnson & Johnson is Rutgers. So it's a great source of talent for us. And I was pleased to see that many of our universities are coming up on the rankings. NJIT, TCNJ, Rutgers, obviously Princeton. So we have a great talent pool here in New Jersey. And I think it's a great state to be able to thrive, especially on healthcare. Because there's so many companies, there's such a big ecosystem in healthcare and in life sciences that it's a great place to be. Now, you know, I mean, I always was rooted for Kenvue to stay in New Jersey because of the reasons I told you before, that Johnson & Johnson it was always have been here, but we had to get the governor going and getting him competitive in order to offer us the right incentives to stay here. So we did that, and eventually we landed in Summit. And Summit is a great location too for Kenvue. It's close to New York, very well communicated, so it's a perfect place for Kenvue, which is a consumer company focusing in an audience who is younger, to be there.
So you've mentioned the universities, you've mentioned the innovation, you've mentioned technology. Look, the governor has made a point to make this an innovative economy again, an innovative state. In bio and life science in this, you have the Nest, you have the Helix, there's a lot of areas. We had Bell Labs up on the stage that are doing interesting stuff. Talk a little bit about, well, I'll say it, talk a little bit about the Helix. Anything you want to talk about there?
Innovation, it's really the secret sauce that makes this state so successful. So it's something that we need to maintain and we need to treasure. I think the fact that we have so many research-based companies in New Jersey, it's a real asset for the state. Our investment in R&D, for example, was $15 billion in 2023. It's the largest of the healthcare companies. It's among the largest of any industry. And many of that is happening here in New Jersey. We have, 4,000 patients in clinical trials. We are, for example, now manufacturing some of the most cutting-edge modalities to treat diseases like cell therapy here in New Jersey. We are expanding a factory that we have in Raritan. So I think this is very important for the economy of New Jersey to be innovation-based, and I think that's part of what is attracting so many companies here. What do we need from the state to advocate on behalf of the innovative industries? That means, you need to have a state that is working to protect what is the lifeblood of an innovative industry, which is intellectual property. I mean, without intellectual property protections, there cannot be innovation. That's really the foundation that we have to build from. It has to be a state that obviously, incentivize businesses to come here and incentivize innovation in different ways, including taxes. And it has to be a state that it's willing to fight, at all levels, in the federal level too, for the companies and the economic ecosystem that it has in the state. So I think that's something that our governor understands, and I think that's why he is such a supporter of businesses and innovative businesses here in this state.
All right, let's have an honest discussion about, you mentioned it before, taxes in the state and doing business in New Jersey. As everyone in the room knows, there's a lot of taxes, there's also a lot of reasons to be here. Innovation, talent, all of that. Talk about the business climate and the direction you see it going. Some of the polls seem to indicate that we're getting to be a stronger place to do business. Will you agree with that? You speak favorably of the governor. Talk about the business climate as you see it.
Let me get the taxes issues out of the way first, right? And then I talk. I mean, I think that, we are disappointed with the tax increase, and I think that puts New Jersey in a position of being less competitive from a tax perspective versus other states, and it's a bad headline for New Jersey. I mean, to have the highest corporate business tax rate in the US is not a good headline for New Jersey, so I think we all have to agree with that. Now, there's other reasons other than taxes to establish a business, right? And I think in these other reasons, I told you some of them before: the talent, the business-friendly climate in other areas, the diversity of the state, the geographic location, how dynamic the state is overall, and the existence already of strong hospitals, strong infrastructure. I think it helps New Jersey in attracting companies, in attracting talent. So, look, can we do better? Yes, we can do better. But I think that when I think about the area I know, which is life sciences, New Jersey has truly the opportunity to become a powerhouse in life sciences and to be able to compete with states like California and Massachusetts that now are grabbing most of the investment. So I would like more things to come to New Jersey. For that, we have to continue to build in those key elements, which are intellectual property, talent, friendly tax environment, and overall support for innovation-based industries. I think the governor understands that, and it's great to have somebody like him.
Great to have someone like him, but he's term limited. It's coming up. I think we have a talk tomorrow with some people who would like to replace him in that role. There's certainly plenty of people announced and unannounced. What would you tell the next governor, or what would you tell the state senate president or the general assembly speaker on what you need as a company to survive here and thrive here?
So, we have almost 140 years of history, and we have worked with all governors, let's say. Some of them are better, some of them are worse, but we work with all governors, and we are beyond the political cycles. I would tell a governor that they need to understand that the role of the governor is like a chief executive officer of a state, of a company, and that the most important role is to put New Jersey first. And if you want to put New Jersey first, then you have to also support the ecosystem of businesses that exist in the state. And a very important part of that ecosystem of business that exists in the States are the large companies like Johnson & Johnson. We have a tremendous economic impact, not only for what we directly do, but what we actually, create as part of our economic activity, and also the companies that are partnering with us that come to be based in New Jersey because they are working with Johnson & Johnson too. I can tell you at least, several companies that have come to New Jersey because they are partnering with us and they want to be close with us. So I would ask that governor understand that the important large companies that you have in New Jersey are a state treasure. You have to nurture them, you have to support them, you have to help them, no matter what your political orientation is. Whether you are blue and red, it doesn't matter. You have to put New Jersey first and go forward.
I would say that's a mic drop moment, but I wouldn't recommend that now. You've talked about the incredible numbers of working with New Jersey companies, right? You're here, you're reaching out, you guys are reaching out to the state like never before. To the audience out there, what would you say for the people that want to get more engaged with J&J in any number of ways? What would be the advice for that?
Thank you. So, I welcome the support of the New Jersey Society and the New Jersey community. I think that it's important to continue to support us in understanding the role that innovation-based industry has in society. I think that oftentimes big companies are criticized, big companies are portrayed negatively, and at least in the ecosystem, in the economic ecosystem of the state, I would like you to understand the important role that we play and how we can be a positive force multiplier for all the economy of the state. And we have a long-term commitment here. We want to be a good citizen. It's part of our credo. It's part of our credo to be connected with our communities. It's part of our credo to pay our fair share of taxes too. And we would like to have the support of the business community in New Jersey, like in the different battles that we will have to fight in the future. We can feel New Jersey supporting us. We can feel that we are playing in our home court. That's what I will ask, the audience.
Awesome. All right, those of you who are familiar with the ROI interview, you know we not only don't just do CEO Joaquin, we do person Joaquin. So we got a few minutes left. We like to do a little lightning round of fun to get a little insights into the man up here. I got a couple of questions here that I thought I would throw out. You're CEO of Johnson & Johnson, but what was your first job?
My first job was barista. I was doing before Starbucks because I'm older than that. So barista doing coffees and teas.
Languages, you've dropped a couple of them. Tell the audience how many languages you speak.
I speak English, I hope you understand everything I said. As a joke, when I first came to New Jersey, I was living in Bridgewater, and I went to my kids' school, they were in elementary school, to read a storybook because it was my son's birthday. So I went to the class, all the kids are sitting in the mat, I started with the story, and then when I was like a couple of minutes into it, one of the kids stood up and said, "Mr. Duato, would you mind to please speak in English?" So that was my introduction.
You just need to learn how to speak Jersey and you'll be all good. This is always a good question. If we're going out to dinner tonight or you're going out to dinner, give me 3 dinner guests at your table. Who would you like?
I would like to meet, and this is a New Jersey reference, Thomas Edison. Great inventor, so creative. I think electricity is one of these elements that is a force multiplier too. I would like to have dinner also with Dr. Paul Janssen, who was the most prolific scientist in Johnson & Johnson. He discovered many medicines. It's been one of the most prolific industrial inventors in medicines. And then obviously, look, if I'm gonna have a dinner with 2 people, if I don't add my wife, I will not be able to come back home. So I will put my wife into that clearly.
Now, as you guys can hear from the accent, we're obviously having German food at the meal. What do we eat?
If we're gonna have a dinner with them, I would cook a paella, which is my hometown dish, and I would be able to do a good job there.
All right, what kind of wine, what kind of sangria, what's the drink?
As I have to be very disciplined as Johnson & Johnson CEO, I do not drink, but I would put some red wine, some white wine, depending on what they wanted.
All right, that's a pretty impressive table. You're a CEO, you've had a great career, you've met a lot of people. Tell the audience who the most impressive person or the person you're most in awe of that you ever met.
The most influential person in my healthcare career was my grandmother. As I told you at the beginning, she was the one telling me, she was the one giving me the spirit of service. So seeing my grandmother, in Spain the pharmacies are owned by the pharmacies, so they are managed by the pharmacies. It's the same in France and in Italy, so they are not retail chains, so the pharmacist behind the counter is the one that you speak, and so they are neighborhood, important, members. So seeing my grandmother every day there in the pharmacy, talking to people with multiple diseases, multiple problems. Sometimes the conversation went beyond the disease into whatever personal things they were going through. Seeing that spirit of service is that what made me think about a career in healthcare, and I still admire, and she was a big mentor for me.
All right, speaking of mentor, best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
My parents. I had a very nurturing mother and father, and they always told me, Joaquin, if you can imagine something, if you work hard for that, you are going to accomplish it. So that gave me great confidence, and I have taken that spirit in everything I did in my life.
All right, we're almost done. We're going to circle back to where we started. Soccer, World Cup 2026. Who's winning?
I wish, it's it has to be Spain or the US.
Sounds like a politician.
I am a dual citizen too, so and my kids maybe go more with the US, but you know, my heart brings more into Spain in the soccer compartment, no? But it would be my dream final would be US Spain. That would be wonderful. And then look, God will provide whatever is the result. That would be good.
I'm Tom, that's Joaquin. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you.